Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 8 of the Argo Bounce Podcast Show, a weekly independent talk show devoted to the CFL's 19-time Grey Cup champion, your Toronto Argonauts. And after a little bit of a break last week, we're back with Episode 8. And I want to give a special shout out to George Brown, who filled in temporarily for Nick last week. And also, I want to give a shout out to Left Field Brewery at 40 Hannah Avenue in Toronto for now being the official beer of Live with CDP when I'm at the Argo games as well. They have great products at Left Field Brewery, so make sure you check out their, Liberty Village location at 40 Hannah Avenue as well. And I'm excited about doing episode 8 tonight with Nick Small. Welcome back, Nick.
Thanks to be back, Chris. It feels like forever. Just really unfortunate circumstances 2 weeks ago. Can't bet on having a power line on your street knocked down very often. So hopefully the guy who did it's got a pretty good insurance company. Speaking of Left Field Brewery, I was recently having one of their beers, their Replay raspberry wheat beer. Really good option for the summertime right now. I don't drink the fruity beers too often, but I find, especially in these hot summer months, it's a really nice treat to enjoy as something different if you want to stray away from the classic kind of lager or stout type beer. So if you're looking for something to try, give the Replay a try.
I had the Leafs lager. I would like to suggest to Left Field Brewery maybe to have a summer beer called the Argo Lager or the Argo Bounce beer. Honestly, I think it would be
Third
great.
and long. Third and long.
Yes, that would be a good selection. But that, hey, Nick, I was going to say that was the first time in 4 years I did not run into you or anybody other than Dr. Tai Aboye. Honestly, God, I didn't see anybody there. I went as a fan. I didn't do it as media. And the gentleman that sits by me had a family emergency, Tim, and he couldn't make the game. And honestly, Dr. Taya Aboye was the only one I could see, and he was so happy at the end of the game. And I was able to talk to him for a minute or two, but he was going down to see his son after Ottawa's miracle comeback. By the way, last time I saw a professional football team blow a 20-point plus lead was the 1997 Indianapolis Colts. They were up 26-0 on Buffalo, and the Bills came back in the second half and won that game. That just shows you, no matter what the score is in a football game, you've got to play 4 quarters. You got to play overtime. You can't sit on the lead. And 22-1 lead was great after the first quarter, but Ottawa, credit to them. The last 3 quarters, they outscored Toronto 45-20, and I think this loss might sting more than any of the other losses this year.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I've kind of gotten used to it at this point. For me, when I saw Ottawa was down 22-1, and then I saw the glitch on the scoreboard on the Rouge say they got 999 points, my thought is, okay, so yeah, they're right. They're right where they want us. And yeah, the way the rest of the game went about, the way the defense played, there was part of my mind where I thought they were actually going to give up 999 points for real. It was just a brutal defensive showing for the Argonauts every time. I was thinking, okay, maybe if they get a stop here and they pin them deep in this territory, we might have a chance to maintain our lead. And nope, the momentum just kept building and building Ottawa's way. And even in the second half, like the worst thing they could have got out of it, opening that second half, they got a stupendous return from Daniel Adebaboy. And I do have to shout out Daniel and the Adebaboy family, some of the most passionate CFL fans out there. Obviously, I'm happy for them and that Dan was able to have a really big moment against his former team. We can talk about whether or not the trade was warranted. I think what they managed to get out, the Argos managed to get out of it was actually really good. But as well, it was in the context of when it happened, we all thought that Kadeem Carey was sticking around and that the running game would be strong. It looked like that it was giving Dan a bigger opportunity in Ottawa compared to what he probably would have had in Toronto before the trade. And before things have developed the way they are, it's nice to see him thrive in Ottawa. So I'll give Daniel a lot of credit, and I'm happy for him for that.
We've got some news from the CFL today and from the Toronto Argonauts media department, Nick. The Argos' 3 home games next year in 2026 are going to be in Hamilton, Winnipeg, and Saskatchewan. And I'm not going to mention names, but a lot of people on social media that are Argo fans are really disappointed. My point of view was I'm not shocked. I kind of knew ahead of time because I was told by a few guys in the industry that Guelph and Western and these university locations don't have the proper broadcasting facilities for TSN, and they needed a CFL stadium with the facilities to do this. So I'm not shocked. I do understand why some of the Argos fan base is really disappointed, but this has been planned since 2023 when I think it was 2023 when they announced some of the World Cup games were going to Toronto. But my point of view is I'm disappointed, but I'm not shocked by the decision today, Nick. And let's hear your two cents.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, the disappointed but not surprised. But there's also a lot of points where I can think that it was a really blown opportunity by both MLSE and the CFL. As you mentioned that, okay, sure, it wasn't feasible to develop Guelph or Western or U of T Stadium or Kingston and Queen Stadium or whatever. But we've seen instances where the Argos have had played a game on whim. They've set up the Touchdown Atlantic Bowl out east. They've set up Fort McMurray, Alberta. There were opportunities where they could have taken advantage of it and used it to develop their own domestic market within Toronto. And they chose the easy way out. They chose the lazy way out. And it looks bad on both Keith Pelly and MLSC and on Stuart Johnson and the CFL for not holding MLSC accountable. They're taking the financial make money solution out of it, abusing the revenue sharing program and banking off of Saskatchewan and Winnipeg fans who are going to go no matter what who they're playing. It's going to be terrible for the team and the roster, the coaches, the players, because now they have to essentially do another de facto road game. They're playing a quote unquote home game in a stadium in which the fans are going to be vehemently against them. They're not going to suddenly be like, hey, let's go Argos, let's be nice for them. No, they're not going to do that, especially in Hamilton too. It's going to be a mess trying to get half decent seats now because we're battling with Hamilton season ticket holders who are guaranteed their seats for that game among ourselves, who are now going to have to take second class seats in Hamilton. And on top of all this, in BC, they have 2 games that they're losing instead of 3 like we are, and they're going to a neutral site. So you can't convince me on the fact that it's not feasible to have a neutral site or develop Guelph or whatever for 2 games when they're able to do it in BC. What it shows to me is that whereas in BC they have someone like Amar Domon who cares for the team, you don't see that in MLSC right now. They simply do not care. And that's the way I feel about it. And that's the way many other Argos fans feel. You see some of the most prominent names in the CFL community, the Argonauts community, just absolutely furious and devastated by the news. We're the only professional sports team in North America that's treated like a second-class citizen within its own city. And frankly, when you look at the amount of times we make the butt of jokes among the league, among both other CFL fans and among other Toronto sports teams fans, I've already had 3 Leafs fans today give a shit about, see the Argos, maybe if they had more fans, it would matter. I'm sick and tired of it at this point. And you cannot convince me that if they keep doing things like this, we're never going to grow this team up, this fan base up. And frankly, me and many others are just sick and tired of it at this point.
Nick, I want to put my 2 cents in here too, and I don't expect you or everyone to agree with me, but my opinion, this is my opinion as a fan and not as a media person, and I'm very grateful to the Toronto Argonauts and the CFL for covering the league, but to me, my opinion is Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment is using the Argos as a tax write-off, and to be honest, the Argonauts haven't had proper ownership probably in over 20-25 years, and I would like to see one day that Argonauts have the proper ownership. My concern is, in my opinion, I can see in the next year or two MLC deciding to get out of the CFL and the Argonauts. I hope I'm wrong, but what they're doing now is not helping this fan base. And you can't expect, okay, once a year we'll have the CNE game. The CNE game helps. And obviously with the Blue Rodeo ticket this year, good idea. But unfortunately, that's not enough to make this a long-term solution. You want this team to succeed. They have been successful. They've won Grey Cups, multiple Grey Cups in the last 3 years, two out of the last 3 years, 3 out of the last 7 years. This year you can say, okay, it's a down season. It's not our year. That's acceptable. But long term for this franchise, in my opinion, I have very serious concerns because you're right. I don't feel Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment wants to try to make this team successful going forward in the future. And that's my 2 cents. And also, Nick, I wanted to get your thoughts too. I'm going to give you this. We're going to give you this 2 minutes right here. If you were able to talk to the CFL commissioner right now, what would you say to him as a fan of the Argonauts and the CFL? No, I'm going to give you this platform.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Chris, because yeah, it's obviously this whole scenario is just really disheartening. I've been really fortunate in the position I worked at, both as working within Wilfrid Laurier University and within my time among the curling community. I've been really fortunate that I've been able to speak with some really amazing individuals who are leaders within their respective communities. And speaking specifically with among Nolan Thiessen, the head of Curling Canada, when we met him about a year ago, maybe a little bit less than that. The big thing he talked about was the give a crap factor, that where what really sets apart successful organizations, whether it be in this case Curling Canada, whether it be like Laurier football community or any organization, be it professional, amateur, a governing body or whatnot, it all depends on that give a crap factor and whether or not you're actually committed, and they want people in there who are driven to put the team first and who are passionate about wanting to make it succeed. When I look at MLSE right now and the way that they've handled the Argonauts from day one, it's shown to me that they don't have that kind of factor. And you look at it, you look at the Bill Manning being president, it's split between Toronto Argonauts and TFC. You look at right now, there is nobody in that role for both TFC and the Argonauts. There's nobody there, and everything within the management is right now being within a split role. They're focusing too much on cost savings by trying to have these people do roles within 2 sports groups rather than committing fully to one organization that they're deeply passionate about. If I were in charge of MLSE right now, if I were in Keith Pelly's shoes, first thing I would look at is having each specific team having its own organizational group of people who are focused and solely committed on that team. Is it going to cost a bit more? Yes. But when you look at the have-nots, the groups that are struggling, that's what they need in order to succeed. By having them split their duties between 2 completely different sporting organizations, it just doesn't work. Now, to move it on to the CFL, and I'm glad you brought it up because I would have really liked in the time when not Randy Ambrosi, Stuart Johnson, the new commissioner, was doing his talks, his rounds, going to all CFL teams. I unfortunately wasn't going to get a chance to talk to him. But one of the things I was going to ask for him and talk to him about was this whole scenario with the World Cup coming in. And I would have said to him straight up, the worst thing you could do is let MLSE have their way and take the easy, lazy, profitable way out. Because, yeah, short term, you're going to get a lot of fans from Saskatchewan. You're going to get a lot of fans from Winnipeg. You're going to get a lot of fans from Hamilton. But the one thing you're not doing is completely contradictive to the one thing you said from the very that you wanted to establish when you stepped in as commissioner. You wanted to grow the game domestically. It has significantly backfired and has caused a football and PR nightmare within the Toronto community, because now you've alienated a ton of loyal Argos fans and you're completely scaring away anybody who would consider becoming a casual season ticket holder now, because what you're saying is, yeah, well, if a bigger event comes in, you're just going to go and you're going to lose some games and what have you, boohoo. You'll save a little bit of money, but that's okay. That's what you're saying by letting this decision happen. You need to be stronger. You need to be firmer. And you need to tell MLSE that no, this doesn't work. And wherever the money comes from, whether it comes from MLSE out of their own pockets, it comes from the CFL, it comes from the province or the feds, it doesn't matter. You need to do something to grow your largest city in a market that's struggling. Toronto should not have this problem where they can't play within their own city when they're the largest city in Canada. That's where they need to grow, and they're not doing that. It's completely contradictory to what they're trying to establish. So I hope MLSC and Stuart Johnson, the CFL, is hearing what I'm saying, because like if you want someone who cares, I deeply care, and I know every other Argos fan here listening and within the community, we all care and we want to grow this team. We've been so proud of what we've done over the last 3-4 years in drawing more fans, and we want it to keep growing. But this is just so devastatingly detrimental, a huge step backwards for what we've been trying to accomplish.
We have Rick from the Hamilton Sports Central. He's saying not only that, but how do you get all your fans back in 2027? And I'm going to be honest, I have long-term concerns about the visibility of this team going forward. And I know you're not a fan of Damien Cox of the Toronto Star, but his uncle too didn't paint a great picture as well. And Nick, I don't know what else I can say. You pretty well said it all, and I kind of totally agree with you. And I think, unfortunately, it came down to them and the CFL didn't want to spend money, and the University of Guelph, in my opinion, this is my opinion, the CFL, the Argos, and the University of Guelph didn't want to spend the money on upgrading the broadcasting facilities. As much as I like the University of Guelph Alumni Stadium, their bleacher seats are severely outdated, and the press box is below CFL pro football standards, especially their mic system as well. So it came down to money too, Nick, and I do agree with what you said. And my biggest concern is Maple Leaf Sports, Maple Leafs MLSE long term with this franchise. I don't know how you can grow the sport. Obviously, the team this year is having a down year at 2-7, but I don't know. I'm really worried about the future of this team going forward into the future.
Yeah, it hasn't reflected yet quite at this point in the attendance numbers. The attendance has actually been pretty solid, all things considered. With a 2-8 year, they're fairly much on par with what they had last season. But yeah, like you said, you wonder what it's going to mean. And again, like I said, it's just we're always the butt of jokes across the league and across other sports in Toronto, because we can't draw fans. But then stuff like this is clearly the reason. And it's not like this is the first time that's happened, whether it's been Toronto Blue Jays going in the playoffs and kicking us out of the Sky Dome, or with the Pan Am Games. It's just, it seems like one thing out of another, that after another, that keeps pushing Argonauts fans out. And it's something that simply I think us fans just can't take anymore, because it's just ruining everything that we're trying so hard to push forward towards. And especially with now Rogers, the group that does own the Blue Jays back then, and now owns the majority stake in MLSE. It's just, if you're gonna treat us like that, like, you may as well just give up and let go, because the only thing worse than having no ownership is having an ownership that doesn't care.
And I totally agree with you there. And we've got another comment here, and it's from Hamilton Sports Central. Rick, he goes, question: didn't Toronto not just build a $50,000, 50,000 seat temporary stadium? Rick, answer your question.
Yeah.
That is a concert stadium, and from what I've been told, it's a dump. It was done in 9 months or less, and it's not. It's just a temporary fix until they get Budweiser stage renovated in a couple years from now. But on the scheme of entertainment things, I hate to say it, and the Argos are probably at the bottom of the list right now. And now with the Toronto getting a WNBA team and having a women's professional World Hockey League team as well, a PWHL team, the Argos are probably on the last of all the teams in the Toronto area right now.
Well, to Rick's point, I've mentioned it before to other people. The whole point of why you built BMO Field to a capacity of 20,000 people originally was because you looked at that building, the Sky Dome, and you said, "Oh, that's a 50,000 seat stadium. The Argos get 30,000 fans in there, and it looks half empty. We don't want that, so we need a smaller stadium." Well, now you've just completely shot yourself in the foot and gone against everything you said you were doing 20 years ago, because now BMO Field's being expanded to a 45, 50,000 seat stadium that's going to look half empty, and frankly does look half empty when Toronto FC and the Argonauts draw 20,000 fans, because the upper deck on the east side's empty. And now you add those extra seats in the north end, you add extra seats in the south end, it's going to look even more empty when the same number of fans fill it. So now we're right back to square one. We need to go back to the drawing board, and we need to build another 20,000 seat stadium, which then in 10, 20 years, we're going to say, oh, it needs to be bigger. So we're going to expand it to another 30, 40, 50,000 seat stadium. It's just a repetitive cycle of stupidity between the city and the power hungry oligarchs that run our sporting teams.
My concern, Nick, and Rick's brought this up too, you're possibly going to end up losing a number of season ticket holders. Now, I did hear from some of them saying, yeah, Guelph's too far away. We can't get to Guelph. There's no GO train, no service. But Hamilton's probably at the same distance as Guelph, and then Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. There are going to be loyal season ticket holders and fans that will go to Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, but you can't expect the entire season ticket holder base to go to Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. And by the way, Nick, it's 3 games right now, but they also have to get the stadium back into CFL standards when all of this is done. There's a possibility it could be a 4th game too.
Yeah, we saw that with the delays that were going on with Hamilton's stadium when it was being developed. So you're absolutely right. You definitely have justified worries that what if things don't get fixed in time. I mean, right now it doesn't even look like they're going to have everything ready for the FIFA World Cup, because exhibition station there at the a absolute nightmare, and the facilities around BMO Field with all the construction, that's a nightmare too. So I'm worried even that for FIFA is not going to be ready, let alone reverted back in time for the Argonauts. And yeah, you brought up a really good point. Right now it sounds like as though the season tickets are for the Argonaut fans are going to include that Hamilton game, but you can't opt out and get it refunded. You opt out but get extra tickets to another Argonauts game. So your hands are tied, where in one way or another that game in Hamilton is going to influence you in one way or another. And then yeah, when it comes to the games in Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, like I don't know if there's a plan to have some sort of contest and rent a private plane and fly fans out. That's got to cost you way more than trying to remodify Guelph or something for 3 games. It's just, yeah, it's just not a good look at all, and it's going to really negatively impact both the fan base, as we've seen. I've already seen a lot of people say that they're not going to renew their tickets now or go to less games this season anyways. But it's also going to negatively impact the team, because now there's extra travel involved. They're going to have to spend more time playing, training, coaching, doing all that kind of work outside in Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. And again, now you can't even really call it a home game, because like I said before, everybody in Saskatchewan is going to be rooting for the Riders against Toronto. They're not gonna suddenly be pro Argos just because it's funny. Like, they're not going to do that. Fans don't do that. They're loyal to their team, and yeah, they're really testing the patience of Argonauts fans.
I'm hoping one day I can have Mike Pinball Clements on here because I would like to get his thoughts and if the
I
team
don't think he
even
has
had
much
it
of a
fixed.
say. I don't
No.
think pinball has much influence at all. It's an MLSE decision. This is a thing where, like, again, guys like Keith Pelly and the executives of the MLSE board, they're the ones that need to be held to account, not pinball. It goes higher
And,
than that.
and Rick said, yeah, we did a full season in golf 2013. Correct, Rick, but it was a full year. I guess MLSE is looking at why spend all this money to go to Guelph for 3 games. So,
BC's spending that money to play in a neutral site, either in Victoria or Empire Stadium, so, or maybe
okay.
somewhere else within BC. So if Amar Domon, a single billionaire, is willing to spend that money for BC, why can't MLSC for Toronto? Because shareholders. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Hey, same organization that didn't even try to keep Mitch Moore of the Leafs. I'm not saying Mitch Moore's the best player in hockey, but they didn't even try to keep him. Yeah, unfortunately, Nick, I don't know what the future holds for this franchise going forward under this ownership. And this is just my opinion. And as a fan, and I appreciate you, Nick, voicing your 2 cents. And Rick, yeah, thank you for watching this show as well. But it's not it's not going to be easy. And
No.
we should be, and we also got to focus on tonight's game too. We got the Argos game against Edmonton, 9:07 kickoff from
Yeah.
on TSN or TSN 1050. The game against Ottawa, to me, I don't want to spend too much time on it. They were up 22-1, and then things fell apart. I think the turning point in this game was Daniel Aboye's kickoff return in the second half. It was still 25-19 Argos to start the second half. And then that Boyer kickoff return to the Toronto 11 basically started everything in motion. And the defense had no answers for the Red Blacks at all. And unfortunately, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, for me, what really had it was when they took that objectionable conduct penalty late in the game when they had them stopped at the goal line. They would have forced Ottawa to kick a field goal, but instead taking that selfish, brainless penalty was what led Ottawa back in the game. They scored that touchdown, and then that really, I think, was really the gut blow that killed the rest of the momentum for the Argonauts going
By
forward.
the way, I talked to Paul Woods after the loss on Twitter X, and I said, Paul, when's the last time the Argos blew a 21-point lead at home? And me and him were thinking, okay, the 1986 East Final, where it was a 2-game showdown with Hamilton in a point series, and that was pretty bad collapse too by the Argos. But I guess it was September 13th, 2020, September 13th, 2014. The Argos were up 29-3, up 26 points to Calgary, and they end up losing that game 40-33. So in top 5 Argo losses of all time, this loss has got to be up there in the top 5 or top 6 because blowing a 21-point lead at home doesn't happen very often. So it just sums up this team at times, Nick. Nick, this team can be frustrating at times. This team looks good. They can score points. They get off to good starts, and then they just fall apart. And be honest, Nick, they really haven't had too many games this year where they've played 60 minutes.
No, they haven't. And I think that's what's really frustrating because when you look at them on paper, and the way they've played for the majority of games, they have looked like the better team, but they just keep making way too many self-inflicted mistakes. And that's, I think, what's really been making it frustrating to watch. And, we talk about it every week, the namesake of the show, the Argo Bounce. It seems like there's just something that has gone against us, whether it be by poor play, by a stupid penalty, by a fumble, a sack, an interception, whatever, a deep pass that we can't stop. It's just there's something in that Argo Bounce that has gone against us this year, kind of making up for maybe the last 3 years where it really has gone in its favor. I don't know, having so many games like these accumulate within one season. This Ottawa game, the Winnipeg game the week before, the Saskatchewan game, the Hamilton game, in the way that we've lost games that we really should have won. And in the last 3 years, we have found a way to pull out and win. that's what's been, I think, the most frustrating by it. I'm still going to put the 2019 opener against Hamilton at the top of that was one of the games where I felt horrible after it. So it's not quite that level of bad. But yeah, definitely some disheartening games.
Nick, gonna ask you this question. How does this coaching staff get this team to be mentally prepared for tonight's game against the Elks, who are coming off a big win, and they're going to be at home tonight at Commonwealth Stadium? If the Argos, in my opinion, Nick, if the Argos have any chance to go on a playoff run, they've got to win this game. If they lose this game and drop to 2-8, I know there's still 8 games left, but realistically, to me, playoffs now start now, tonight for the Toronto Argonauts.
Well, I mean, if you look at the standings, it says it all. If you lose to Edmonton this week, there's no fluffing about it now. You have to take the fact that you are the worst team in the CFL. So, there's lots of things that I think they can have go their way. You look at, for example, the Ballard defensive line. Chatfield Jr. still has more sacks than Serezna and Brinkman put together. So I think you have to sort of key in on what you have going for you, your strengths. The offense is still, despite the losses, they're clicking extremely well. Arbuckle's put up more than 30 points each of the last 4 games. So you just gotta hope your defense can find something, can get something together and get a stop out of it. The big thing I think we're going to have to look at is Brandon Dozier has come in. He's going to be playing that Sam linebacker spot while Darius Brad is moving from the field side halfback to the boundary side halfback. And then Tavares McFadden's moving to field side halfback, and then Jonathan Edward is going to start in corner. So I'm hoping those little maneuvers around will help things for the Argonauts, especially with Braden moving to boundary side halfback, because I think he'll benefit better from the shorter field, because to me, he was the one that really struggled the most in deep coverage this past week. So we'll see.
I guess Ryan Dinwiddie was talking to the media last week about there's a lot of guys that do a lot of talking, but they don't back it up on the field. And to me, it's basically you guys forget the playoffs issue. You guys are playing for your jobs. If you guys want to be on this team going forward next year, you guys have to start playing better. So every game now is kind of an addition for these guys. And if they continue to talk and not perform, you're going to see more changes with this roster and possibly with the coaching staff next year as well. Obviously not with Ryan Dinwiddie because of his record and the job that he's done in Toronto, but there will be some changes with this team if this continues for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you do worry kind of when it does bleed into a personnel change, not just from the players, but perhaps even to the extent of the coaching staff. One of the things I found interesting, there was a bit of talk too with obviously he comes up every week with Chad Kelly and his injury and him coming back, and especially with the record, there seems to be more and more lean towards letting him rest and just writing the season off as opposed to letting him back in. And some of the criticism I see, like particularly towards the offense, it's geared towards roster personnel changes, but like you look at the receivers that the Argonauts have this year, and every single one of them, pretty much, with the exception of the running backs, they're all guys who were on the Grey Cup roster. So I don't necessarily buy the receiver personnel change. Coxie was here last year. Ungerer, Grant, Natal, Hirschlow, Daniels were all here. And even Deontay McMahon, Dejon Brissett, like all of those guys were the core receiving core. So really what's been the challenge this year is just the secondary more than any other department, and special teams, I guess, are the two groups that have really, really struggled immensely.
Well, for me, secondary, I agree with you, Nick. The offensive line has been a disappointment. Special teams has been a disappointment. And the running game, they have not been able to get any kind of running game going. I think they've had one game this year where they had 116 yards. And I believe that was against Winnipeg. And by the way, the strengths of this team Obviously, Arbuckle's played really well this year, but the strength to me is the wide receiving core on this team. They have so many good receivers, and Arbuckle being a veteran, I got to give him credit too with this offensive line struggling. No running game. Arbuckle has played really well this year, and to me, he's one of the unsung heroes of this 2025 Toronto Argonauts team. Nick, I got to ask you, we've talked about Kevin Mattel, how he's developed this year. But there's
Mhm.
another gentleman that was a rookie last year, and he's really developed, and I think he's going to have a good career in the CFL, and that's Jake Herslow. And I wanted your thoughts on Jake's development, and also that hurdle. To me, was as good as Saquon Barkley's hurdle last year when he did it against I can't remember which team it was, but Herslow he really has developed, and that hurdle to me was one of the plays of the year for the Argonauts.
Well, yeah, except in context for the moment, it led to a field goal when it probably should have been a touchdown. But yeah, as an individual play on its own, it was a brilliant display of athleticism. I what Another thing that was interesting about Herschel too is when he came in, he was actually playing both ways. He played defense on defense and as a wide receiver because in college, I think he had played both or had made a switch. So he does have the athletic ability to play both. So if we only have Blackburn as the only backup this week, so if anything bad was ever to happen and we don't have enough depth, you could potentially see Herslow play that both ways. And especially now where you saw Hurricane Ayala got released, there's questions as to whether either Mackay Polk comes back or their one draft pick from a couple years back might be made available. There's questions towards that, so I think it's nice to see that Herschel gets more play in, and as well for this week for tonight's game, that's going to be really important to think about. Is Demonte Coxey? He's a game time decision, so the CFL's leading wide receiver in terms of reception yards might not play tonight, so it's going to require more guys to step up.
And you have a number of former Argonauts that are licking their chops against the Argos tonight. And ironically, there was a couple Argos that had big games last week. Boyer with Ottawa and Priester with the interception. Now everyone talks, oh, Arbuckle, and I'm like, you know what? That interception, that was basically, it was forced. It was kind of a desperation pass.
Mhm.
Arbuckle had nothing to do with that loss. He did his job, and that interception, Priester made a great play on it as well. But the Elks tonight, they're going to be fired up too, Nick. 2-6, and I feel they're better than 2-6. But I got to get your thoughts on tonight's opponents, the Edmonton Elks, who are 2-6, coming off a win, and they've got another former Toronto Argonaut as their quarterback, Cody Fajardo, who has seemed to get this offense going.
Yeah, I mean, I was really happy that Trey Ford got the start at the beginning of the season, but in the back of my mind, I was definitely thinking that Cody Fajardo has the experience, but he also definitely had a vengeance with the way his trade from Edmonton happened, because basically what they said in Montreal was that they were choosing Davis Alexander over him. So for him to step up, his completion percentage has been really good at this point. But I think it might actually fall a bit in Toronto's favor, because Toronto's secondary has really struggled with the deep ball, whereas Edmonton has been a team that's really focused more on shorter, 10 yards and less passes. So they hopefully will be able to key in on that, and it should engage the linebackers. It should engage the defensive line, which are actually, I would argue, the strengths of Toronto's defense right now. And then, yeah, but like you said, looking at some of the guys who are on the roster for Edmonton, you've got a lot of former Argos with a point to prove. Obviously, that defensive line, Jared Brinkman, Jake Serezna, Robbie Smith. You've got Royce Metier in at safety. And then you've got Gregor McKellar, Curly Giddens Jr., Javon Leake. So there's a number of guys there with a mission to prove.
Curly Gittens Jr. to me has been the biggest disappointment with the Elks. I'm not sure if he's hurt or it's the system. It just hasn't been the same receiver since he was traded to the Elks in 2023 with the Argonauts.
Yeah, even when he played with Chad Kelly, he never had quite the same chemistry as he had with McLeod Bethel Thompson. And even when Macbeth was with Edmonton last year, they didn't really have the same kind of chemistry going. So, I mean, and you look at how the trade kind of has evolved over time. Like that was the Jake Ceresna trade, and unfortunately, due to other circumstances, money, family, all that kind of stuff, it was pretty clear that no amount of money in Toronto was going to get Ceresna back in Toronto, unfortunately. So in a way, long term, Edmonton's really profited by having Ceresna back and Curly Gittins, but we got a Grey Cup out of it. So it's kind of, the double-edged sword of the football business.
Nick, is McLeod Bethel Thompson at the end of his career? Obviously, he's now on the 6-game injured list, and he has been struggling. And at his age, do you feel that his time is up? And since we're talking about former Toronto Argonauts, another former Toronto Argonauts quarterback signed the Alouettes this week, Cameron Dukes. What are your thoughts on Cameron Dukes, and what can he bring to that Alouettes offense?
Yeah, I don't know. It's necessarily over. I'll say, like, we'll see what happens with regards to McLeod. I still think he's got the fire in him, but yeah, for whatever reason, it just seems like it's guys who leave Toronto to go to other teams, like from the Dinwiddie system specifically, have struggled. A perfect example of it is Nick Arbuckle. Nick Arbuckle was he didn't play that great in Calgary or Edmonton or Ottawa, and he comes back to Toronto under a Dinwiddie system, and he's played amazingly well. And I mentioned it earlier in the season when quarterback injuries were piling up. Did you want Nick Arbuckle? Did you want McLeod Bethel Thompson? Did you want Dustin Crum? Or did you want Tyler Powell in Hamilton and among the Eastern quarterbacks? And Arbuckle has done extremely well. Yeah, with Cameron Dukes coming in, I mean, it definitely provides a different look for Montreal. I don't We'll see if over the last couple months since his release from Toronto, if anything's developed in terms of like his confidence, his deep throwing ability. Certainly he has kind of that almost like Dustin Crum like ability to tuck it and run if things get hairy. I do worry though that maybe he's a little bit jumpy in the pocket or too quick to go to the check down. But I mean, he's clearly in here right now as a backup to Caleb Evans. Like they're gonna give Caleb Evans a fair shot now at as starting quarterback before they move to Dukes. Like I don't expect him to play a whole lot this coming week in for Montreal against BC.
Get another viewer, Richard Chong. He's saying, "Hi, Nick. Congratulations. You'll be joining the guys on the Labor Day Walk for Cancer." Since Richard has brought this up, just tell our audience what you're doing with Connor and Rick.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rich, for bringing this up. As you said, we were going to mention it a little bit later in the show, but yeah, I'm really happy to announce that this year I'm going to be joining Connor Suve, Rick Boccaccio, Dallas Bergen, among the people who are going to be walking from BMO Field to Hamilton Stadium. It's a 65-kilometer walk. We're raising money, of course, for CFL Fans Fight Cancer, which this year is going to Cancer Care Manitoba. We actually haven't set a goal of what we're trying to achieve yet, or at least I haven't heard, but I'm going to set a benchmark of around $1,000 as a group. That's what I would like to see. That's 1% of the total of the $100,000 that they're looking to raise as a whole. So if anybody is interested in donating, I did have a link on my profile on Twitter, Nick Small 38. If you want to take a look, there's a little guide there on how you can make a donation through the website, or if you're willing to, you can e-transfer money and I'll make a donation on behalf if you think that's easier, or if you know me personally and you just want to give me some cash, that's an option as well. One thing that's really cool this year too is you can personalize your donation to whatever team you're donating on behalf of. So in my case, I'm doing it as the Argos, obviously, but you can donate on whatever you want, and maybe there'll be some bragging rights for whichever team raises the most money. So if it's a cause that we're deeply passionate about as CFL fans, obviously the group was organized in honor of God dang it, Hamilton head coach Ron Lancaster. Sorry for the brain fart there. So it's been going on for 25 years now, and it's a great charity event. We're gonna have a big Grey Cup festival celebration the day before the Grey Cup, as well as we always do. So if you can, please donate. We'd love to see you turn out.
Speaking of charities, Rick Zampering is taking place in the U.S. plane pool in support of United Way Hamilton Halton on September 13th at Hamilton's airport. By sponsoring Rick Zampering, who's the announcer for the Tiger Cats and the audio, you're helping the United Way invest in life-changing programs. Please consider donating here. Rick's website is United Way Halton Hamilton, and then it's aka raisin.com. Or just click on United Way Rick Zampering and you can donate online. And I made a contribution to Rick's donation. And Rick is one of the good guys. He's the play-by-play announcer for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Tiger Cats Audio Network, and he's the co-host of the morning live show on CHCH News. So any Hamilton Tiger Cat fans and CFL fans that want to help sponsor Rick Zampering through his United Way program with Halton Hamilton, please check out the website on the graphics down here as well. And that's the one thing I love about the CFL. Everybody likes to contribute and help with their communities.
Absolutely. It's what makes CFL fans the best in sports.
Richard Chong has got another comment. Thank you, Richard, for watching on YouTube. By the way, anyone who's watching right now live stream on whatever platform, if you have a comment or question for me and Nick, please feel free. Richard goes, I wish I was able to walk, but I can't because of health reasons. Well, Rick, you can also help out with the donation online as well. Whatever you can do, walking or donations would be greatly appreciated as well.
Yep. Yep, always. As we're just a shout out to Richard as well. We know he was hoping to join us and looking forward to it, and we're a little bit sorry that he's not able to join us for the whole walk. But hopefully, Rich, if you're here, and we love you, buddy. Hopefully, you can come out at least for a chunk of it, and you can see us when we head down by your neck of the woods. That's what's nice about this whole walk. We're going all the way from Toronto to Hamilton. So if you're in the neighborhood and you even just want to join us for a small chunk of it, provide some snacks or water or whatnot, we're happy to see you and have you out. By no means do we ask you need to do the whole walk with us. If you want to just come down for a chunk of it and say hi, by all means. That's what I did last year. I couldn't because of work, so we hung out at the Beer Town bar in Oakville, which was awesome.
I think next year you guys should consider doing Ottawa. Instead of doing Hamilton, the walk should be to Ottawa.
Well, at the start of the year, Winnipeg showed how long it would take to go from Winnipeg to BC for their opening game, and yeah, nobody actually tried it. Thank goodness. I don't think we'll see that walk anytime soon.
And what date is it again, Nick, that you guys are doing this?
So it'll start it's the week before Labor Day. So I believe it'll be
Okay.
starting on September 1st. Usually how we plot it out is we'll walk between 15 and 20 kilometers each of the first 4 days. And then by the final day, we'll be right under the Skyway Bridge. And then that's a little less than 5 kilometers to walk from there to the tailgate lot. We'll hang out at Lot E with everybody else. And then we'll make our way into the stadium in time for the game.
Hopefully the weather cooperates.
Oh, I believe it. I'm not worried about that. I've walked and ran from Hamilton Stadium to the GO train after some devastating Argonauts losses. 10 o'clock, pitch black. I've been fine. A little rain is not going to bother me.
All right, Nick, we're going to finish up this show because we've got Argos Elks tonight at 9:07. Not that far away, maybe 35 minute kickoff. Gotta get your thoughts, Nick. What are some keys to an Argos win over the Elks tonight? And do you feel this team is capable of putting a winning streak together with only 8 games left in the regular season? And they did get some help last night with Ottawa losing to Winnipeg 30-27 in another crazy Canadian Football League ending to that game.
Yeah, when it gets straight down to it. So, okay, couple of comments first. First of all, when I watched that game last night, my final thoughts was, how the heck did we lose to either of these two teams with the amazing blunders both of them made during that game. So there's that. Second, a little off topic thing. I want to shout out Ginger Argo and Delise. Shout out to David and Delise. They are at the game right now between Edmonton and Toronto. This is their 50th consecutive Argonauts football game they've been to, home or away, preseason, doesn't matter. This is 50 consecutive games they've been to, regardless of where it's been played. So I give a huge amount of credit to both of them for being the most dedicated and passionate Argos fans I know. When it comes to this game, what's really going to come down to is going to come down to defense and shutting down Cody Fajardo. Their defense has been horrendous these last couple of weeks, and they can't let it keep happening. If the defense doesn't step up, it's not going to work out, because even when in the Winnipeg game 2 weeks ago, they struggled in the first half, but they got it together in the second half and they had more than 30 points, but they still lost because their defense couldn't stop a beach ball. So they need to do something defensively. That is the only thing I want to see out of them. If they play well defensively and they hold Edmonton to under 25 points, they will win this game. I firmly believe that. And then going long term, they just need to be better than Ottawa and two of the West teams right now, Edmonton and BC. They hold the tiebreaker against all three of them, because they hold the score tiebreak against Ottawa, and they hold the rights for the crossover if they're tied with BC, or Edmonton, or I guess Winnipeg, maybe. We'll see how it goes. But at the end of the day, they just need to be better than those teams, and they just got to claw and scrape their win into the playoffs. They don't have to. I'm forgetting about home field. I'm forgetting about winning the division, even though it's technically still there. You just got to be better than those teams.
Nick, who has the record for most Argos games attended?
I have absolutely no idea, but it's probably among Ginger and Delise. If we're just talking about fans, I don't even know among like coaching staff or player personnel. I got to think that Danny Webb's probably, if you're gonna like look at people who have been to every Argonauts game in some capacity, probably Danny Webb would be the guy I'd have to put my money on.
As Nick, I almost forgot, I wanted to mention this too. Quick thoughts on the late Chris Schultz and Nick Volpe going in at all-time Argos, and also the team honoring a longtime employee, Jason Colero. I think 40 years with the team. Him and Danny started together in 1985. Danny is the equipment manager or assistant equipment manager back then. Jason's been with the organization from a ball boy to now what he's doing with the organization. It's just amazing to have two employees like that in this organization for 4 years. Not to mention Penball, who's been with this organization pretty well since 1989.
Yeah, we talked about Schultz and Volpe already a couple weeks ago, but yeah, two outstanding individuals and well-deserving to be added as all-time Argos. But speaking about Jason Colero specifically, I mentioned that one of the practices I went to, they had brought a bunch of kids out from one of the youth summer camps. And the guy who spent most of the time talking to them and showing them, like explaining to them what was going on and engaging with them, was, if I'm not mistaken, Jason Colero. And that says a lot about his character and the type of guy he is. And it shows, it shows that give a crap factor that we see lacking in upper management sometimes, but you see that is really apparent with the on-field and player personnel management. Those guys truly care deeply, and you see it each and every game with the way that the on the field product is brought. Sometimes it doesn't reflect on the scoreboard, unfortunately, but those guys put their heart and soul in doing everything they can to help the Argonauts win. We just need better, more passionate and caring people in the upper echelons of management, the business side of things, so that can drive home that success more than what we see right now.
Nick, I want to give a shout out to Latoya, who's the dance team coordinator and the Argos A team, and they had the alumni dance team there. I thought they were great on the field, but they also do a great job with the pregame show during the game and acting, um, participating with the fans and the public. I think they do a great job. So I want to give a shout out to Latoya and the Argos A team, and they brought back the alumni. Some of the dancers were back from the even the 70s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. They were called the Argos cheerleaders for a long time, but they've done a really nice job making it now a very diverse team with women and men on that team, and did a really good job on Saturday before the game and during the game, and I want to give them a shout out as well. So we always talk about some of the negative aspects, but there's also a lot of positive aspects, and the Argos A team and Latoya do a really good job. And I also want to give a shout out to Jess Smith and Sean Bowen, the in-game hosts. They do a really good job, along with your buddy Adam Goss, who's the one of the loudest and most enthusiastic pianists out there as well.
Yeah, one thing I'll say regarding Adam Goss, I mentioned to it on Twitter earlier today, but at the very least, if you want any semblance of these Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, Hamilton games to truly feel like home games, you need to drag Adam's ass out to those games. He needs to be there for that, because there is no one who could make it feel more like a home game than Adam Goss.
By the way, I did ask him to come on tonight, but unfortunately he couldn't. He had another commitment, but he said to say hi to you, and we will try to get Adam on our show at some point. He's been on my main show, but we haven't had him on here yet. But it will happen at some point as well.
I think we did have him on 2 seasons ago. I'm sure we had him on before.
I'll have to look into that. Okay, maybe you're right. Your memory might be better than mine. And finally, Nick, we're gonna wrap the show up soon because we got Argonauts just shortly after 9 on TSN. CFL Week 11 picks. Obviously, the game last night is over. Ottawa lost 30-27. But we got Toronto Edmonton coming up at in about 25 minutes on TSN, and then Saturday, the battle of the two best teams in the CFL, Hamilton and Saskatchewan on Saturday, and then we have a doubleheader Saturday night with Montreal at BC. Thoughts on the Ottawa game quickly against Winnipeg, and let's get your picks on the rest of the games going forward.
Yeah, well, I gave my thoughts on the Ottawa-Winnipeg game. How the heck did we lose to both of these teams? So I'll leave it at that. Okay. I had picked Ottawa to win, so I was wrong on that choice. I'm taking Toronto over Edmonton straight up. I'm taking Saskatchewan over Hamilton, and I'm taking BC over Montreal. I just don't think Caleb Evans can do it, unfortunately. Montreal is just too banged up.
By the way, we have 3 more viewers watching the Argo Bounce podcast show on Instagram Live. Courtney, who's watching from Virginia, she's a Steelers fan, but she's a fan of mine, so thank you, Courtney. And then we have an actor in the States, Daniel McCants, watching this as well, and Jonathan Clausen is watching as well. So everyone that's watching this show live stream, whatever platform, thank you for watching our show, and to those that listen to our show on the audio platforms as well. And I know you want to get my thoughts on the Ottawa Winnipeg game. Winnipeg was up 27-10 in that game, and it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how big the lead is in the CFL is, no lead is ever safe in the CFL, and Winnipeg can consider them quite fortunate to win the game. I know we got criticized for Castillo's 63-yard kick where he missed it, and Ottawa returned it for a touchdown. But Sergio Castillo has 3 goals in his career of over 60-plus yards. He has one of the strongest legs. So people criticizing O'Shea, they're in the wrong there. And give Ottawa credit. They didn't quit. He fought back, but both these teams, that game should have probably realistically ended into a tie because both those teams made lots of mistakes and blunders, and that really game should have ended up in a tie. But yeah, Winnipeg is 5-4, but I still don't think they're going to get back to the Grey Cup this year. But I'm not counting them out. I just don't feel they're the same team. But at the end of the game, Colero's got the job done, and Castillo hit the field goal. As for tonight's game, Toronto and Edmonton, my heart says the Argonauts will win this game. but I'm going to have to listen to my brain. And I think there's going to be a former Argonaut on the Elks tonight that's going to have a big game. So I've got the Elks winning this game. I think it's going to be 31-28 Elks. I hope I'm wrong. And Hamilton, Saskatchewan on Saturday. I'm going to go with Hamilton in an upset. My brain says Saskatchewan, but I think Hamilton is going to still be stinging from that loss to BC a week ago. So I'm going to go with Hamilton in an upset over Saskatchewan. Call me crazy. And then the Saturday night game, Montreal and BC. Montreal started out 3-0, Nick, and now they're 5-4. They've lost 4 out of the last 6 games. I'm going to go with BC because of Nathan Rourke. I think Nathan Rourke is now playing much better than he was a year ago, but BC is inconsistent as well. So I'm going to go with BC because of Nathan Rourke and the fact that they're at home. So again, I've got Hamilton in an upset and Montreal losing to BC, and the Argos losing to the Elks 31-28 as well.
I think Montreal's got nobody left is their problem.
We're in trouble, and I guess that is good news for Ottawa and Toronto right now. And by the way, the new segment, it's called CDP CFL Power Ratings for Week 11. Nick, I'm going to go first. I'm going to let you know. Here's my picks. Number 1, Saskatchewan. Number 2, Hamilton. Rick will be pleased. Number 3, Calgary. Number 4, Montreal for now, but they're going to be dropping soon. Number 5 is Winnipeg. Number 6 is BC. Number 7 is Ottawa. Number 8 is Edmonton. And right now I've got number 9 as of right now.
Yeah, I would probably, if I had to rearrange it, you got yours on the board, so it's a little easier for me to re-rank. I would probably have BC a little higher with the way they beat Hamilton. I'd probably have them at number 4. I'd have then Montreal, Winnipeg, and then I'd probably have Ottawa, Toronto, Edmonton. If Toronto had have won last week, I probably would have had Toronto above Ottawa, but I still don't have Toronto at number 9. I still think they're a better team than Edmonton, but this will be the ultimate test, because if Toronto loses this week, they're unquestionably at the bottom. So we'll see what happens.
Well, to me, this is going to be a playoff game because Edmonton's hungry for a win, and Toronto desperately needs to win badly. So I'm hoping I'm wrong. I hope the Argos can get a win tonight, but I get the Elks winning 31-28. And there's a number of our ex-Argos tonight that I'd like to probably show off against their former team as well. Nick, before we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
I think I just about covered everything I wanted to. I remember the one. We just need to briefly cover the CNE game, CNE thing, because tomorrow I will be at the CNE, and I'm looking forward to that. You will, if you follow me on my social feeds, Nick Small 38. I will be doing my regular small eat segment. So myself, my brother, my parents, and I will be wandering down. I'll be sharing all the really weird food concoctions. My list of things that are on the top of my bucket list to try. I want to try that lobster ice cream. I want to try that habanero cotton candy. Believe it or not, I love insanely spicy food, so I'm really excited about that. I'll probably try one of those loaded pickle boat things. I don't know which one yet, but I'll try one of those because I love pickles too. I will try. I'll probably get the 2-foot-long hot dog, and I'll probably split that. So there'll be some very interesting things, and definitely the most underrated thing. San Francesco Foods in the food building has a really good breaded and fried stuffed veal cutlet thing that they've had the last couple of years. It's really amazing, and it comes with a side of hickory sticks, like really thin cut fries. So they're really, really good if you're looking for something that kind of under the radar to eat. That's an amazing food. Go for that.
I heard the 2-foot hot dog was $55.
$55. Well, we'll see you when. Okay, well, I'll see you when I get it, because that makes the Jays prices look cheap by comparison. I can't believe it'll be that much, but we'll see.
Hey, speaking of hot dogs, if you're in the Cambridge area tomorrow, the Fresh Co grocery store located at 1 Hespeler Road in Cambridge, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. is doing hot dogs and pop for a donation, and the donation will go strictly to the Cambridge District Humane Society. So if you're in the Kitchener-Waterloo, Guelph, Cambridge area, and you want to have hot dogs and you want to have a pop and support a great cause, please check out Freshco Grocery Store at 1 Hesper Road in Cambridge tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as well. I wanted to give them a little shout out. And their website is cambridgehumanesociety.org. And by the way, Nick, as we wrap the show, we talked about CNE. I was at an 80s and 90s Oblivion car show in Milton this past Sunday, and I got to go into the Knight Rider car kit and the DeLorean from the Back to the Future movie as well. So I think next year you guys should come out and check out the Oblivion car and culture show. 80s TV sets, 90s computers, and a lot of classic cars there as well. It was a great time there as well.
Yeah, if you're looking for something else to do, if you're like me and Japanese culture is a lot of your thing too. There's at Mississauga Celebration Square. There's the Japanese festival going on, so I might set aside some time on my Sunday to go, as tomorrow I'm at the CNE. So yeah, there's all kinds of crazy and fun things going on now that summer's starting to come down to an end. I'll be glad when this hot weather's done, because I'm sick of jogging in 30-degree heat at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's horrible. So I will be glad when it drops down to minus 20.
I will definitely see you at the CNE game, and I'm not going to the Blue Rodeo concert. I think they're okay, but I'll give the credit to the Argos organization for doing this thing of ticketing and combining with the CNE and the Blue Rodeo concert. But I'll definitely see you and your family there, and I'll definitely have to get I'll have to get a drink too. You can eat all the bad food, but I would like to have 1 or 2 cold drinks after the Argos game and walk around the CNE and
We can
see
have
all this. Go ahead.
We can have the dirty soda, the butter root beer, kind of like I guess it's kind of like the butter beer from Harry Potter. It's like a butter tart mixed root beer kind of thing. It actually sounds pretty good. So that's another thing on my list. I'll try to wash down the spicy cotton candy, I guess.
The dirty pop thing is not new. It was back in the 70s and 80s where kids actually mixed or popped together. So this dirty pop thing didn't just start now. It started back in the 70s and 80s. So it's another retro thing. But I'm looking forward to eating all that weird food, and I'll maybe have 1 or 2 drinks at the CNE as well. I'm looking forward to it. Argos BC, 3 o'clock kickoff. If you buy a ticket at argonauts.ca, you have the option of including the Blue Rodeo concert at Budweiser Stage, which I believe is at 6:45 on Saturday, August 23rd.
Yep. And most importantly, your ticket to get into the CNE is included with your purchase of a CFL ticket. So yeah, that's $25-ish of your money going towards that. So if you deduct that from your ticket price, your Argos ticket's probably like $20-25. So it's a really good deal.
Finally, Nick, we're going to wrap this show up. Where can our audience follow you on social media, and the best way of contacting you?
Yep. As always, Nick Small 38 on Twitter and X, and on my YouTube channel the same way. Yeah, game's gonna be starting soon, so looking forward to that. And yeah, thanks. I got nothing else that I need to say this week, so thanks a lot, Chris.
And I put the website up too for the fundraiser, Support Cancer Care Foundation. The website is there if you want to donate online as well. And yeah, Nick, as we wrap this show up, my next live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show is going to be Monday, August 18th. I've got 2 shows on Monday. 12:30, Morgan Parrish from Fox 20 News, Fox 29 in Philadelphia. She's going to come on and talk about moving back to her hometown for news and a little bit about the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Monday night, 8 p.m., I have Karen Wilson on. She is an actor, entrepreneur, positive mindset coach, and she'll be on as well. I have more shows coming on next week, and obviously, Nick, the Argo Bounce Podcast show, episode 9 will take place next week. The day and time to be announced. But I want to say thanks, Nick, for coming back on here tonight. And we'll definitely see you and your family and everybody Saturday, August 23rd for the Argos BC Lions game. And enjoy the Argos game tonight. And I'm hoping I'm wrong and they can get a win tonight against the Argonauts.
Yep, you and me both. We hope the Argos can win. Let's hold MLSC accountable, guys. Go Argos.
Thank you so much, Nick. Have a good night. Go Argos. All right, everybody, that concludes Season 4, Episode 8 of the Argo Bounce Podcast show with Nick Small and myself. And big game tonight for the Argos and Elks, underway in about 10 minutes, around 9:05 Eastern, 7:05 Mountain Standard Time. Elks are 2-6, the Argos are 2-7, and it's desperation time for the Argonauts as far as I'm concerned. And that is about it. Thank you, everyone, for watching this show live stream or on our audio platforms. The Argo Bounce Podcast show is available on all audio platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods. And we'll be back next week for another episode. And hopefully Nick and I can talk about an Argos win and look forward to their C&E game against BC next Saturday, August 23rd, 3 o'clock. You can get tickets at Argonauts.ca, and tonight's Argos Elks game is on TSN and I believe on CBS Sports Network in the States. And then if you want to listen to it on the radio, TSN 1050 with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant with the call as well. That is about it for Season 4, Episode 8. We will see you guys back here next week. Date and time to be announced for another edition of the Argo Bounce Podcast show. It's Chris Pomay and Nick Small. I hope everybody has a great weekend and enjoy the Argos Elks game and the rest of the CFL games tomorrow. Hamilton, Saskatchewan at 3, and then Montreal and BC at 7 o'clock as well. As always, go Argos.
Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the